Hi, I'm Sally Williams, Martogg LCM Ambassador, and I'm here at the Martogg processing plant in Victoria, Australia. I want to explore the state of the Australian recycling, packaging and manufacturing industry at a company level and how companies are providing sustainable solutions to brand owners and the consumer for the future. Worldwide, the problems caused by the growing amount of plastic waste being dumped into our environment have almost reached breaking point. The devastating effects that discarded single-use plastic could have on our environment can only be described as catastrophic, and if nothing is done and we don't come up with sustainable solutions soon, it won't be long before the contamination begins to directly affect us all. However, we've reached a turning point, and thanks to Martogg and other visionary recycling companies, there is now a sustainable solution that could extend the life cycle of these valuable polymers indefinitely. The answer is Martogg LCM, and in this series of videos I'm going to be introducing you to these amazing products and to some of the key people who've developed the process that will keep discarded and unwanted packaging out of landfill and our ecosystems for generations to come. And I'm with Austin and hello, and Ben from Martogg. Let's talk about the state of the recycling industry here in Australia.
Let me start off by saying that polymers, or plastic as we've come to know it, they're very much a victim of their own success.
Yeah.
You know, in reality, for 70 years, we've been benefiting from plastic in some way, shape or form. It keeps our fruit fresh, has many different uses, hence why it largely dominates the packaging industry.
And we haven't complained really about it. We've loved using plastic as our packaging.
And really it's just once we discard the material and we forget about it, that's where it becomes problematic.
That's when it starts becoming a problem.
Exactly,
yeah.
but really there is a reason why it is being used into the packaging industry. And look, the issue that we face, Sally, is we've become complacent over the years. We've become accustomed to exporting our waste offshore. And what I mean by that is we've collected our waste, we've baled it up, we've put it on a ship, and we've sent it off to another country and essentially made it their problem. But as you'll be aware, from 2018, the Chinese National Sword Campaign came into effect. Subsequently, other countries followed suit.
Well, it was a big wake-up call
It was. We've got a stockpile of waste that is growing at a pretty rapid rate. It's thousands of tonnes of plastic every day. We need to find a solution for that waste that isn't putting it into the ground or shipping it offshore and letting it enter our environment, which we've all seen.
So we've got to take our own responsibility.
We do,
don't we?
But the good news is plastic is inherently recyclable. So the whole notion around plastic being a single-use material, it's false. We've been recycling for years, and the beauty is, you only have to look as far as PET as an example to see that this material, as a post-consumer material, can be recycled back into food-grade resin, suitable again for the same application from which it originated from. Let's use bottle to bottle, for example, and into an abundance of other applications. So we've now got an opportunity to direct that waste plastic through the recycling facility and use it back out into consumer goods. And it's so important for the circular economy. The two main elements are we've got a waste crisis, but the other element is carbon emissions, which I'm sure you'll be familiar with.
Absolutely.
Now I can tell you right now that where PET, recycled PET, is used in place of virgin PET, there is a carbon saving of up to 79% less than the virgin counterpart, so it's huge.
And Austin, where does Martogg fit into all of this?
Well, Sally, Martogg's been around since 1975, so we've been around for 45 years now.
You know your stuff.
Yeah, we know our stuff, and we've seen a lot. We've seen the industry change a lot over that time. We've started from very humble beginnings now to being able to cater for almost all segments of the plastics industry in Australia. So commodity trading of polymers, commodity compounding, engineering compounding, rotational moulding powders, colour and additive master batches, all the way through to our sustainability division, Martogg LCM.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. How and why did you go down the path of sustainability?
Well, that's an interesting one as well. And really, we've been in recycling, if you will, since 1975. It's really been a part of our DNA since the very start.
Which is great to hear. Good for you.
And look, we formalised it in 2006 with Martogg LCM, which stands for Life Cycle Management. And that business was really created on the basis that we would bring back waste from our customers for our other resins. we'd recycle it, and we'd turn it back into an industrial resin that could be used back into a really well-established industry in Australia.
And we're all consumers and we all play a role in this.
We are. We've got the technology and the equipment today to process post-consumer waste material. It doesn't need to go into the ground. It is inherently recyclable. We can take that in, we can recycle it, and we can reuse it. And that model is so important. It really is. We can't continue down the linear path of make, use, dispose.
So why speak out now? Why act now?
Well, Sally, we feel like we have an obligation. You know, we have 45 plus years of experience in the plastics industry, and from our perspective, you know, we see it as being a really simple problem and a simple solution. We really are at a crossroads. We can continue down the path we're on, which is, it's unsustainable. It sees us consuming plastic in a linear manner. It sees millions of tonnes of plastic ending up in landfill. It sees recycling capacity being underutilised in Australia, and we don't want that. So we take the other path, which is the more sustainable path, the green path.
The only path?
Yep. Well, that's the way we feel about it.
Yeah.
You know, it sees less plastic in the environment, it sees less plastic in our landfills. It sees increased recycling rates, more jobs for Australians. The crucial part of it is educating the consumer and empowering the consumer that when they're standing there at that point of sale in a supermarket or wherever they are, that they're understanding their part that they play in this. That by choosing the sustainable path, the recycled content path, they're contributing to all of the benefits of the circular economy. And really, it's so important. It really does start and end with the consumer.
Yeah, and it's all about the education, because I think once the consumer understands that, they'll look for it. A lot of consumers these days, when they talk to me, they want to be more responsible. They want to find it straight away. They want to look underneath and say, great, recycled, good, ticks that box for me. And Austin, at Martogg, you have your own brand of recycled PET.
Yes, we do, Sally. MarPet is our 100% recycled PET. It's food contact approved, and we have 3 vacuum lines here in Dandenong producing 23,000 tonnes per annum of capacity. And it's what we want to focus on through these 3 videos. We want to talk about the process, and we want to talk about how it can contribute to the circular economy, and talk a little bit about some of the products that are also integral in that story as well. So,
well, I'm really keen to have a look inside the factory here and see how it all works.
Well, let's go for a wander out the back. We'll take you into the R&D facility, introduce you to the team, and we'll go from there.
Great. So here we are in the lab, and I'm with Craig Riley. And Craig, I believe you've been here for a very long time at Martogg.
Sally, I have been, 40 years.
Goodness me. Oh my goodness me, that is incredible. You would have seen so many changes over the years. So tell me about your research with recycled PET.
Recycled PET started back in 2016. Today we've got 23,000 tonnes worth of conversion capacity, and we're moving forward.
So what sort of packaging are we talking about here when we're thinking consumer and shopping in a supermarket?
When you walk down the shopping aisles, soft drink, water, meat packaging, fruit packaging, berry packaging, cheese packaging.
Okay. So tell me about MarPet. What is it? Let's talk about that.
That's what it looks like. That's a chopped up soft drink bottle. We turn it then into that, which is
the pellet form.
in the pellet form.
Craig, a lot of people ask me about glass. So what's the difference? What do you think?
What's the difference? Well, plastic fantastic. It's a
well, it's durable.
It's good job that wasn't the glass one, Sally. It's durable. It's lightweight. It's circular. We can reprocess that time and time again and turn it back into a bottle. The future is strong.
So Martogg's very much behind it. Now I want to talk about cost.
There's a cost.
There's a difference.
There is a cost. You just have to accept that you can't pick material up from the curbside, put it through a process, reprocess it, send it back out the door, and expect that it's going to cost the same as virgin polymer. It just doesn't. It just can't be done.
The consumer just wants to go shopping and find that it's there and it's really easy to read. Great. Recycle PET, fabulous.
Yes.
MarPet, great.
And understand.
And understand why it might cost that little bit more. And yeah, I think that's fantastic. In the next video, I'll be finding out how this R&D is put into practice and the vital role we can all play in achieving the goal of prolonging the life cycle of these valuable polymers indefinitely.
I'm Sally Williams, and in this series of videos I'll be highlighting the reasons why we can no longer go on generating the kind of plastic waste that will inevitably affect the world that our future generations will inherit. Behind me here is the machine that represents the turning point in the eradication of single-use plastic. It provides industry with the raw material MARPET, and MARPET is a phenomenon that will make a significant contribution to the elimination of plastic waste. Here in Martogg's Victorian processing plant lies the key to how plastic waste, once destined for landfill, is converted into MARPET, a totally recycled raw material that can effectively be reused over and over again. And I'm with Greg Kerslake from Martogg. Hi Greg.
How you going, Sally?
I'm really well. Now I want to know all about your role here at Martogg.
Yeah, I'm the Group Manufacturing Manager, so I oversee all the manufacturing and technical aspects of the company.
Very important role.
Measured and varied, and keeps me active.
I bet it does. Now I've got a question for you. Say I've got a plastic bottle or a fruit plastic container from the supermarket.
Yep.
How does that then become MARPET resin?
Really good question. It's a collaborative effort really from everyone. So let's say if the general person puts rubbish in their bin, that will go to a waste collection centre.
Yep.
That will then, exactly, it goes to a MRF and they will go and they'll split out the plastics and the glass and the cardboard, and that will go then into a bale of plastic.
Yep.
So it's then that bale of plastic that is then actually split out, treated, washed, granulated, sorted, heat sinked, washed again to a point of where it's clean enough for it to be reprocessed, recycled back into something like our MARPET.
Which is what you do right here.
This is a vacuumer. So this machine is basically treating the material up through the reactors and decontaminating it. So it actually is purifying the resin.
Which is what it's all about, okay?
It has to be that, because what is happening with a lot of these recycled materials, they are going back into food contact applications.
So we're making it food grade.
Making it food grade.
And that's at a very high temperature, obviously.
Very high temperature, and this system uses high temperature and high vacuum. So what happens here is we have our hot wash flake introduced to our process. It's probably one of the most important parts of the actual process to ensure that the quality of the hot wash flake that we receive is meeting our specifications for contamination, level of cleanliness, and even the source of origin. You have to make sure that it meets all the criteria so that it can actually enter into the process under license. Once the material is loaded, we then take it through a series of rare earth magnets to ensure that we have metal detection and no foreign contaminants from metal are introduced. So it passes through a eddy current metal detector to make sure there is no more further contamination if present through the flake. The material is then actually vacuum loaded over into the process where it introduces into the first reactor, sits in there for 190 degrees for approximately an hour to decontaminate under high vacuum. Once it goes through this process, it is then introduced into the second KT reactor, again at a high temperature and high vacuum, up to 200 to 220 degrees, for approximately 45 minutes to an hour. The machine then self-regulates and it actually introduces the resin that's been through these KT decontamination reactors into the screw, where it is then melted and plasticized and passed through a high level of filtration through very tight screens. So the filtration process is very important in that it will actually further reduce, remove any contamination that may still be present within the polymer melt. Very fine particulates are removed during this process to ensure that the quality of the material doesn't have any inclusions, any contaminants that may introduce into the actual finished product. So once it passes from the melt filtration system, it exits the head of the extruder. It enters into this water slide or a small cooling process, just to make sure that the polymer is going from that molten phase into a more of a solid phase, so that it can actually palletize and cut this material into little small granules that is a lot easier for the end customers to handle and to use in their processes. So once we palletize this material, it is quite hot still, in the vicinity of 150 to 200 degrees. It enters into what we call the CIC, or a crystallization vessel, which actually allows the materials to sit there and crystallize and homogenize further. It's very important that the temperature achieved is maintained in this vessel to ensure that the quality of the material is homogeneous throughout. Once it exits these cooling hoppers, which are designed to further crystallize and homogenize, it goes over to a classification screen. This screen is designed to remove any fine particles and oversized particles to ensure that what is passed through to the packaging system is only that of quality material to our specifications. From the sieve, it is then passed over to our packaging area, where it is then decanted into a bulk bag and ready for dispatch to our customers. Once everything is then sampled, QC passed, quality controlled, we can then put it into stores and away it goes.
So when it comes out the other end, it's basically back to its original form?
It is back to PET, but it is recycled, or what we call MarPet PET.
Brilliant.
So this
What a
whole
great
process
system.
it's fantastic. It really is, and it's exciting because you look at where it comes from and where it's going to. It's a great story.
So it's fully circular.
Fully circular.
We are going around and around, and can it go around and around again?
Infinitely.
Love
It's
it.
inherently, and that's the beautiful thing about the PET, it's inherently recyclable. So you can get it from those point of collection points, and it gets crunched up and it gets washed and treated. We put it through this process, we extrude it back out. We can actually boost the physical properties.
All because of these wonderful vacuum machines.
Absolutely.
You've got about 3 of them here now, haven't you?
We've got 3 of them.
I'm
Absolutely.
so excited. I want to see more. Greg, can I have a look at what we're talking about?
Yeah, sure, Sally. So this is what we were talking about earlier, where it comes from the consumer as a bottle in a bale, and then what's received is this here. This is exactly what we're after. This is
Okay.
clean, washed PET flake. It goes in through the vacuum and goes through our extrusion process, cleans up, high vacuum, high temperature, back to a food grade MarPet resin, such as that.
Okay, so it ends up like this. the
As a little
MarPet
pellet,
resin.
yeah, and that goes to the converters, and they can do injection moulding, sheet extrusion for the thermoform tubs for your fruit punnets, biscuit trays, water bottles, off to engineering resins. It's such a great product.
So step 1, step 2,
Step 3,
step 3, off to the manufacturer.
and then back to step 1 again.
Step 1 again.
Great story.
It's amazing. Oh, well, I would like to see the end product.
Let's ask Ben McCulloch, the product manager.
Well, the product manager, perfect.
Well, thanks, Greg, and thanks, Sally. Look, recycled PET can and should be used into all applications, but specifically, PET as a resin is a superior material and a dominant material into food packaging, so fast-moving consumer goods and so forth. Now, the beauty about recycled PET is that it can be used directly in place of virgin PET. So it's a direct substitute, so it has to be FDA compliant, which is fantastic. It's durable, you know, it's robust. It's essentially the same thing as virgin PET. You know, we're not losing any of the properties, as Greg has discussed earlier. We're rebuilding the IV, and the result of that is a piece of packaging that is, you know, of very high quality.
But how do we know it's suitable for food grade applications?
I'll actually answer that one, Sam. So this is an AREMA licensed process technology. So this has gone through rigorous testing with the FDA. So FDA is like a governing body in the United States of America for all things food contact. So if the process is not right, this machine will actually tell us if it's not right for food contact. So there's been a lot of testing that the AREMA and have done with FDA for surrogacy testing, putting in additives, making sure it's extractable, that the machine itself is pulling those volatiles out. So through this process, it goes through those arduous conditions, very high temperature, high vacuum again, to get to those certified levels that it has to be for food packaging.
Now, the manufacturer of this product is actually located just around the corner, and it just so happens we've got a delivery going there today. So let's jump in the truck, head over and take a look at it
We can do that?
right now.
Let's go. Thanks a lot, Ben.
No worries, I'll see you down there, Sal.
See you there. Now you've seen what goes into the manufacture of MarPet, the processes involved and the philosophy behind the technology. But that's just part of the story. In the next video, I'll be showing you how MarPet is turned into everyday items, just like this one, that will soon contain the produce that we see every day at our local supermarket. Hi, Sally Williams here, and I'm in a place that's familiar to you all. Yes, it's a supermarket. It's in places like these that we shop perhaps more than any other retail outlet. And it's here that we find on display some of the best that Australia has to offer in regards to essential household products and fresh produce.
To keep all this at its best, most of what we buy will be presented and displayed in some sort of plastic packaging. Regrettably, what we do with this packaging after we no longer have any use for it has become a major problem throughout the world.
As I've shown in previous videos, Martogg LCM have developed a practical, sustainable solution. A recycling process that offers new life to packaging just like this that we're seeing here today. We've seen how Martogg convert plastic waste into Marpet, and today we'll see how these versatile little granules here are converted into food packaging, just like this. Plastic has been a wonderful resource for over 60 years and has significantly changed the way we live. Unfortunately, somewhere along the line we've lost our way as to how we manage this resource sustainably. Thankfully, companies such as Martogg with their Marpet resin and customers such as RPAC have the answer and are showing the way forward. With Martogg LCM, we have a company that is doing something positive about the future of the planet, and they're doing it right now. You know, there really are no more excuses. I'm at RPAC Recyclable Packaging, a Victorian company that manufactures and distributes a wide range of food packaging, just like this one made from Marpet. And I'm with Ben from Martogg.
Thanks, Al.
Hey Ben, and Michael Reid from
Thanks,
RPAC. Thank you so much for having us here today. I can't wait to have a look around, but first of all, I want to find out about RPAC. How did it start?
Okay, so 1994, we were established under another name, making packaging but from non-food grade materials. And in 2010 we remorphed and reinvented ourselves and came back making packaging materials only from recycled material.
Okay.
And that is where we are today. Everything that we make is from 100% recyclable material and ideally from post-consumer industrial waste.
Great, just like this one here, huh?
Just like this one here. So we would make probably 50% of all of our products out of Marpet.
And how's the industry receiving that?
Yeah, very well. So if we'd asked that question 5 years ago, not so, because there is a slight price premium, but things are changed very much.
And so what's made the change, do you think?
I think awareness, general awareness, and I think people are understanding more education is coming through, and people's in the community who have children who are going to school are talking about recycling all the time.
Yeah,
and it puts a lot of pressure on people.
Yeah, so it's pressure on the consumer, but also B2B, the business
Yeah,
industry
absolutely.
as well, the manufacturers and the products, the producers.
Yeah, and in fairness,
The growers.
since 2010, the reason we morphed as we did is I had 3 angsty daughters that were giving me quite a bit of grief about the industry that I was in. So I've gone green.
Really? So they changed you?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they
They
changed me all right.
influenced you, the younger generation?
Yeah, absolutely, they did.
Okay. Well, that's good because, I mean, they're the shoppers. They're the ones
Yeah.
that are picking up the product, looking underneath, going, okay, so I need to know if this is recycled material. Is it RPET?
Yeah, and they're critical and they're not ignorant. So they actually do.
Yeah.
They research and they know what's true and what's not.
And Michael, how does Marpet fit into all of this?
So Marpet gives me the opportunity to increase the amount of recycled content that I can actually put into products. Without Marpet, I would have to be running virgin materials only, and I would then be able to mix post-industrial scrap from my own process with that, but I can only achieve maximum 30%. Marpet enabled us to take that to 50%, and in some cases 100% when required.
I am fascinated about this. Can you talk me through from woe to go, the whole process?
Yeah, okay, so the resin arrives from as in granule form.
Yeah.
And we mix that with our granulated industrial spoils, the flake. We make a mix, say 50-50.
Yeah.
That material then is crystallised in an infrared dryer and is then deposited into an extruder, which is just basically a big hot Archimedes screw. It's melted ever so slowly to a point where it's quite viscous. It's has a viscosity like water.
Yes, okay.
It then comes out of the die, which are chilled, and it effectively sets it so that it becomes this hardened plastic.
Yeah, so you've melted it down
Melted down. Yep.
and then cooled it, and it's come out as a hard plastic at the other end.
Yes, and it goes onto a spool. It goes onto a roll, so it is effectively just a large roll, which then goes onto a thermoformer, is reheated at a different temperature for forming. We are then punching and cutting it out of its skeletal web, stacking it, and then an operator at the end of the machine will collect those bundles of product, for example in this cherry burst, and put them in a box, seal the box, put the box on the pallet, and deliver to the customer, where the customer will fill them with cherry tomatoes.
So can you just talk me through when it's rolled, when it's going to sort of be formulated? So it's on the roll and then it's going to go through that machine that we were talking about before.
Yep.
Can you just name those 4 processes again?
Yep.
So it's on the roll, yeah.
Yeah, it's on the roll, it's fed into the machine. So the first stage is to heat it, and the second stage is to form it in the shape, for example, of this punnet.
Yeah.
The next stage is to punch it to create these air holes.
Mm-hmm.
Then put a label on the lid.
Yep.
Then it will be cut out of the skeletal web and a label will go on the base.
Mm-hmm.
And then it will be stacked in groups of maybe 25 or so. And then the packer at the end of the machine picks up the 25 and puts them in a box.
So this is just one shape, of course. There's probably plenty. How many are there?
Yeah, well, look behind you, Sal. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fascinating. That today is a cherry burst, but tomorrow that could well be a mushroom, and the
Right.
very next day it could be a blueberry.
What about meat trays? Do you do all that as well?
Yeah, we do meat trays. We do meat. We do cheese. We
Biscuits.
do fruit, vegetables, biscuits. This is actually for capsicums. So all of these products can actually be anything at any time. But the clue to it is that what I am today is not what I'll be next week. I can be something altogether different.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the processing of the Marpet as a recycled material is so easy that it is easy to make any product, any shape that we actually want.
Well, Michael, how do you see all this panning out in the future? We're going to see more of it?
Yeah, so I mean, there's absolutely no doubt if we're going to close the loop, if we're going to be sustainable in the future, there is absolutely no other alternative for everybody else to follow and make packaging out of 100% recyclable material to use our post-consumer waste and industrial waste and eliminate landfill. And if we don't do that, then we're just going to pollute our waterways and we're just going to keep remaking a resource that is not required to be done. This is effectively green material because it's actually renewable.
Yes, it is.
Literally is renewable.
Yeah.
Through Marpet, through their it's a renewable source.
It's recyclable. It's circular. It comes back and it can come back again and again and again. And this is the whole key. This is the message here, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the message.
As long as we buy the recycled and support recycled packaging and we recycle it correctly, it'll come back to the likes of Martogg, who then process it and bring it to you, and off we go again.
And around and around and around.
Around and around. So when I go shopping and I buy my produce in an RPET container, Marpet container, I know that I can put it in the bin and I feel 100% sure that it will get recycled and back into the system again.
Yeah, and ideally
Isn't that
come
great?
back to us to be remade into a blueberry punnet.
So why would you buy one that wasn't?
Yeah, good question.
So education is key here.
Yeah,
isn't it?
education is very much the key.
Yeah, yeah. So we've got to get the consumer to understand, and your customers also to understand, the importance of it.
Yeah, that's on the back of this punnet. It says, "Please recycle me."
Oh, well, it couldn't be any clearer than that. What a wonderful working relationship you two have been.
It's incredible. We've got a manufacturer in RPAC who's a clear advocate for sustainability. He's playing his role. He's using recycled PET back into his packaging. We've got businesses and brands who have aligned here. Look at how many products there are here. So
It's endless, really, isn't it?
It really
that can
is.
just keep growing and growing.
Exactly.
And that can expand.
Exactly.
So we just need the consumer to come on board
the
now.
consumer, as we've said from the get-go, it begins and ends with the consumer. If consumers are actively seeking product packaging, such as this, that contain recycled content, they're buying it and they know the story behind it, then no doubt we've got a circular economy on our hands. We're driving the circular economy, and look, it's ensuring, the future looks really bright.
Yeah, and you two are an example of how it can be done. You are, living proof that we can get this happening in a much bigger way.
Thanks.
My hat's off to you both.
Thanks, Sal.
So these are our cherry burst tomatoes. They're grown at our farm up in Katunga near Shepparton and also here on site. We pack them into PET packaging with 50% recycled content, which we think is fantastic. So we work with a local company. They're only 45 minutes down the road. They're called RPAC, and we've worked very closely with them over the past 4 to 5 years in developing this product, increasing the recycled content while keeping the clarity and the strength of the punnet itself.
clarity in a product is very important. We need the product to present well for our customers. When we got into getting more recycled content into our package, that was front of mind, and they've done a fantastic job. We've got all people out there that are doing the right thing, putting PET plastic into their recycle bins, and it needs a home for it to go to. And products like this are a fantastic place for it to end up. The more educated consumers are about PET in general and rPET, the more recycled content we can just get into our packaging in general. Not only is this product able to be recycled very easily, but it's made from 50% recycled content. So it's a win-win.
When manufacturers, producers and consumers alike start to demand only recycled content in the form of rPET in their packaging and refuse all non-recyclable alternatives, it won't be long before our supermarket shelves are full entirely of sustainably packaged products. Now that is a world that I would be happy and excited to be a part of.